There is a social contract between the leader and the people who have either elected him or her or chosen him or her or appointed him or her to lead them. The leader is supposed to provide guidance, leadership, manage resources, provide inspiration towards a shared goal or vision. And the people then expect that that leader will along the way be accountable to them, because the leader is supposed to serve the interests of the people. It cannot be the other way around. Now, when we find ourselves in a situation where a public officer who has been voted for by the people, whose salaries and benefits are being paid for by the people, in a public place exhibiting behavior that is totally inappropriate of a political office holder, that kind of officer needs to be sanctioned, needs to be called to question. And I know that that kind of incident has not happened yet in Ekiti State. And when it happens, fortunately, we have systems and processes in place. Those things are not personal. It's not about whether I like this person or that person or they're from that political party. It's what processes or laws do you have in place. In Ekiti State, we have the gender-based violence prohibition law, which is binding on even the governor of the state. So if we have people who abuse the provisions of that law, then it will be dealt with accordingly. I think it's simply because there are people who still don't take women seriously in Nigeria. There are people who still think we don't matter. There are people who like to hear the fact that women make up 50% of the population of the country. But what it takes to ensure that that 50% is, their potential is maximized to ensure that we achieve our full potential. But those people are not interested in having that argument or having that conversation. How do we have to keep making a case for people to accept the fact that women need access to education the same way in which boys have access to education? How can we keep making the case that women, when they are earning a salary, their salary should be at par with that of their male counterparts? How hard, we just had a discussion about what happens to girls when they get pregnant and they're in school. A girl gets pregnant when she's in school, she stays away from school. The adult who violated her goes scot-free or says, okay, I'll marry her, as if that's some kind of, compensation. The boy, if it's a boy from the same school, he gets to continue his education. We have women who work all their productive years on land that they will never own, because women are not allowed to own land in that community. Or we have cases where women suffer throughout their lifetime to build a home and a community with their husbands, and their husbands pass away and her in-laws chase her out of the home because she's not entitled to inherit, or she must have done something to kill him. We keep making these cases over and over again. So it seems as if there are some people who do not understand that it is important to invest in women and girls, and that if we want to achieve any of our development goals as a nation, then we need to ensure that we address issues around women's rights, women's empowerment, and women's equal access and social inclusion. Now, hopefully, with this new National Assembly in place, we can start over and see how far we go. We are going to continue with advocacy. We are going to continue to plead and to beg and to have the conversation. But Nigerian women should have moved beyond having to plead and beg with every administration. We cannot put a strategy in place. We have to think of a variety of strategies that have to run simultaneously. As I said earlier, different people have different leverage points, different points of access. Everyone has a role to play in this. Mothers should start by raising their sons to be responsible, to respect women, and to know that the true meaning of being a man is not about abusing a woman or about cheating a woman. Fathers should raise their daughters with a healthy dose of self-esteem. That's how my father raised me, to believe that there's nothing that I can't achieve. As policymakers, we need to be mindful of the fact that as we put policies in place, they have to be gender sensitive and gender responsive. If we are putting budgets together, what impact is this budget or this program going to have on both men and women in the community? If we have schools, for example, where we have a whole lot of, it's you know, a mixed school, and we have a whole lot of male teachers. What are the interactions that go on in that school between the male teachers and the female students? So if everyone, and also as religious, for those who are religious leaders, who people look up to for inspiration on the Word of God, on how and the role they play as mentors and guidance and counselors and so on, what message do religious leaders pass across about the will of God in our lives as men and as women? God created us, equal, man and woman. And now we have some religious leaders of all, religious persuasions. I'm just more conversant with the Christian faith, but of all religious persuasions, manipulating the religious texts and religious doctrines to presuppose that, women are born as second-class citizens and they have to go throughout their life cycle being cheated, being exploited, being abused, being relegated, right to the day that they die. Our laws and policies are only as good as, how we want them to be in our society. If we're a society that believes in fairness, that believes in equality, that believes that every boy and every girl has a future, and that every man and every woman has something to contribute to national development, then our laws and policies will reflect that. Our leadership will reflect that. And when citizens go out to vote for their leaders, they will have that at the back of their minds. That when we vote for these people, they are going to go there with our best interests at heart. And they are going to do the things we want them to do for us. Issues around gender equality and women's empowerment should be core electoral issues. If you want my vote as a woman, you need to tell me how many clinics you are going to build in my community. As a poor woman, I need to know that I'm going to have access to antenatal care or to primary health care. If I'm a woman in business, and I'm selling, pepper in the market or selling plantains and so on, I need to know whether through your influence as a leader, I can have access to a loan where I don't have to bring this and that as collateral, or where I don't have to bring, take a loan that will further impoverish me. I can have access to capital that can enable me grow my business and feed my family. If you want my vote as a woman, I need to be assured that you can put policies and facilities in place. So if my 5-year-old daughter is raped and abused, and I go to report, she will get justice and something will be done. But for as long as we as women, and a few men and men too who have daughters and who have wives, as long as we don't think that women's issues or these gender issues are not important in the political context, we will keep voting in leaders right from local government level up to the highest levels possible, who will not make these issues a priority. We are the ones who can make these issues a priority, both men and women. And it is not a struggle for women alone. It is a struggle for both men and women, because every man has a mother, has a sister, has a daughter, has a wife, and they should all be interested in what is going on around them. You were talking about the high prevalence of rape earlier on. Which man, I want to know that man out of a room of 5,000 men, who will put up his hand and say, I want my mother to be raped, I want my wife or daughter to be raped. No. So if you don't want that to happen, help us work to build a society that does not condone a rape culture. Help us build a society in which girls can be free to walk down the streets without thinking that anyone coming around her is going to exploit her or take advantage of her. So all of us have a role to play. It can't be one strategy, it's a whole range of strategies. Advocacy, awareness raising, sensitization, laws, policies, and sanctions, if need be. I was just a young girl and trying to finish a master's degree. It did not sound right to me, because I thought to myself, if my professor is telling me I won't find any data, what he's telling me is that women did not contribute anything. What they contributed was not recorded or documented or acknowledged. That can't be right. So I went ahead and I wrote the thesis. I wrote a really good thesis, and I did find data. I found very interesting information, and that's where I became interested in a lifelong pursuit of addressing gender equality and women's rights issues. I worked in the UK civil service for a while, and then I moved to the UK voluntary sector to work with African women, and I helped build one of the most important African women's organizations in the 1990s in the UK, Akinamama Africa. Akinamama has since moved to the continent, to Kampala, Uganda. And the reason why we created AMWA at the time was to provide a focal point for women from different parts of Africa who found themselves in the UK as students, as refugees, as professionals, and so on. And from there, I helped co-found the African Women's Leadership Institute, which was a training and capacity building program for young African women between the ages of 25 to 40. And that was established in 1997 as a program of Akina Mama by Africa. And over the past 20 years or so, Akina Mama has produced over 6,000 women leaders across Africa. And many of them today are in key decision-making positions. And the woman who was recently appointed as the Vice President of the Gambia, Mrs. Isatu Ture, is an alumnus of the African Women's Leadership Institute, as well as many women here in Nigeria. And moving on from that, I went to co-found the African Women's Development Fund, the first Africa-wide grant-making foundation on the continent. It's based in Accra, Ghana. I served as the first executive director of AWDF for 10 years before I had to move back to Ekiti State in 2010 when my husband became the governor. I'm still on the board of the African Women's Development Fund. We continue to do great work across Africa. And since we started grant making, we've almost 20 years ago now, we funded over 3,000 women's organizations in 42 African countries with millions of dollars. And so the work I do here in Ekiti State or in Nigeria is, in the way I see it, part of bringing charity back. Charity begins at home, literally, bringing everything back home. The tools I've learned to use around gender analysis, the contacts and the networks I have around in the world of international development, and looking at best practices in other places, what worked in other places, what didn't work so well, and what we can benefit from in Nigeria. And then coming into this position as the wife of a governor has exposed me to the realities of political spaces for women, and what works and what we need to keep working on. So I found it an extremely interesting journey, and I'm deeply grateful to God that these opportunities have been made available to me. But one of the lessons I've learned is you have to keep learning, you have to keep growing, because you never know everything. I believe my most challenging encounter has been when you face the fact that not everyone shares your dreams or your goals, but they are quite happy to play along until it suits them to then move off to, when they think, okay, there's nothing more to be gained from this person or this process, then they move on to the next pasture which they think will be greener. That was a very sobering experience, and I learned a lot from it, but I've come to acknowledge and accept it for what it is. It happens. And so that goes on. But for every person or for every group of people who have to go in another direction, there are others who still come your way for you to continue on the same path of journey group. So it ends up being okay. You don't have to travel, travel along with the same group of people on the same interests. Different people get on board and come on board at different times. So it's okay. It's painful, but it's a lesson that all of us will have to learn sooner or later.
WFM 91.7